The morning she realized she was in love with him, she was standing under a harsh fluorescent light, holding a bundle of fairy lights that weren't meant for her story. The wires trembled in her hands as if they knew what she refused to admit. Outside the office windows, the city shimmered in bright daylight, alive and loud, but inside her chest everything felt hushed, fragile, and dangerously exposed. She wasn't planning her own happiness. She was arranging someone else's. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Stories like this remind us that love sometimes hides in the quietest sacrifices. Aria had always been the reliable one. The one who remembered birthdays, refilled the coffee machine before it ran dry, and stayed late without complaint. So when her colleague Rowan nervously confessed that he wanted to propose to his girlfriend but didn't know how to plan something special, everyone looked at Aria. And Aria smiled. She smiled the way you do when you've practiced pretending for a long time. She offered to help because that's what she did best, help. She told herself it was just kindness. She told herself it didn't hurt. Rowan had joined the architecture firm 6 months earlier, all restless ambition and crooked grins. He sketched buildings like they were poetry. Aria had been assigned to guide him through his first project. They'd spent long afternoons leaning over blueprints by the sunlit conference windows, arguing gently about angles and light placement. He listened when she spoke. He remembered her favorite street food. He once brought her a book about sustainable design because she'd mentioned it in passing. She told herself he was just thoughtful. The girlfriend, Mira, lived in another city. Aria had never met her, only seen filtered photographs, bright lipstick, flawless poses, captions about long-distance devotion. Rowan wanted something unforgettable for Mira's weekend visit. A daytime proposal in the botanical gardens. A violinist near the lily pond. A trail of photographs marking their relationship milestones. He wanted sunlight, petals, music. He wanted perfection. And Aria built it for him. Every day that week, she ran between florist shops and print studios during her lunch break. She negotiated discounts, hand-picked roses in soft ivory and blush, and tested fairy lights against the midday glow to ensure they shimmered without overpowering the sun. She sketched layouts for the garden pathway, mapping where each framed memory would stand. She coordinated with a local musician who agreed to play their favorite song at precisely noon, when the light would be golden and forgiving. Each detail felt like threading a needle through her own heart. On Tuesday afternoon, as they sat in the garden reviewing her plan, Rowan looked at her with gratitude that was almost unbearable. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting trembling patterns across his face. He said he didn't know what he would do without her. He said she had a gift for making things beautiful. Aria swallowed the truth that threatened to rise. She wanted to ask him if he'd ever noticed the way her voice softened when she said his name. She wanted to ask if he'd felt the air change during those quiet moments when their hands brushed over the same blueprint. Instead, she adjusted the layout and reminded him to bring the ring. At night, alone in her apartment washed in pale morning light from the early sunrise, she questioned herself. Was it noble to help him, or foolish? She told herself that love wasn't possession. That caring for someone meant wanting their happiness, even if it didn't include you. Still, her chest ached with a dull, steady pain that no logic could quiet. By Thursday, things began to shift. Rowan grew distracted. He stared at his phone longer than usual. His laughter felt forced. When Aria asked if everything was all right, he hesitated before nodding too quickly. Later that day, she overheard part of a phone call in the stairwell. His voice wasn't joyful. It was strained. Friday morning arrived sharp and bright. The sky was impossibly blue, as though it had dressed for the occasion. Aria reached the botanical garden early, directing the florist and checking each frame along the pathway. The violinist tuned softly beneath a wide oak tree. Petals glowed in the sunlight like scattered promises. Rowan arrived alone. He looked smaller somehow, as if the week had carved something out of him. His eyes searched for Aria immediately. He told her Mira wasn't coming. There had been an argument the night before. Accusations. Doubts. She had confessed she wasn't sure about their future anymore. The proposal felt rushed, she'd said. Unrealistic. The words hung in the air, fragile and sharp. For a moment, Aria felt a surge of something she was ashamed to recognize, relief. But it was quickly replaced by concern. Rowan looked devastated, standing amid the carefully arranged romance that now had no destination. The garden was still breathtaking. Sunlight spilled over the petals. The violinist paused, uncertain. Visitors in the distance laughed, unaware of the quiet heartbreak unfolding. Rowan sank onto a nearby bench. He admitted he'd been trying to hold on to something that had been slipping away for months. He confessed he wasn't even sure why he'd been so desperate to propose. Maybe he thought a grand gesture could fix what honest conversations hadn't. Aria sat beside him, the scent of roses thick between them. She realized then that she hadn't just been arranging a proposal. She'd been building a mirror, one that reflected what he truly wanted. He looked at the pathway she designed, the photographs capturing staged smiles and vacations that felt distant now. And then he looked at her. Really looked at her. He said he had been blind. That all week, while she ran around in the sun making magic for someone else, she was the one who had never once made him feel uncertain. She was the one who steadied him, challenged him, believed in him. Aria's heart pounded so loudly she was certain the violinist could hear it. He didn't confess love in a cinematic sweep. There was no kneeling, no dramatic declaration. There was only honesty, raw and unfiltered in the bright light of day. He said he didn't know what this meant yet, but he knew that the most real connection in his life was sitting beside him, pretending she felt nothing. Tears stung Aria's eyes, not from heartbreak this time, but from the release of carrying it alone. She admitted she had cared longer than she should have. That she helped because she wanted him happy, even if it shattered her. The sunlight seemed warmer then. The petals less like symbols of loss and more like beginnings. The violinist, sensing the shift, resumed playing softly. Not for a proposal, but for a moment of truth. They didn't rush into anything. They simply sat there, two people who had finally stopped hiding. The romance Aria arranged didn't go to waste. It transformed. It became a quiet celebration of courage, the courage to let go of what isn't right and the courage to reach for what is. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it stands beside you in broad daylight, holding fairy lights it never meant to keep. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that love often grows in silence before it blooms in the sun. Special request: comment the word sunlight if you believe true love finds its way, even after heartbreak. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Journal, where we celebrate the quiet bravery of loving, losing, and finding second chances in the most unexpected places.